3 up.
2 across.
Tap that play button 3 times.
And walk through the archway into Dialogue Alley. Hello, and welcome to Dialogue Alley, the official Potter Collector podcast about Harry Potter books, book translations, and all other things magical. I'm Erik.
I'm Melanie.
I'm Peter.
I'm Carly.
And the 4 of us are Harry Potter book translation collectors. That means we collect Harry Potter books from all over the world. And boy, do we have a lot of them to talk about today. I feel like especially in our news segment, we have a lot more news about books coming out, which is great. We've had like actual translation and book related news the last 3 episodes. So that's exciting, which I think we even forgot to mention, and I'm kind of little previewing the news here, but the anniversary book that came out in the U.S. that was very underwhelming, and they're reissuing that one with the with the stencil border. We missed that completely.
They listened to our podcast, I think, because how many times did I mention
all they
that
had
side
to
edge? That's all I needed.
Right.
Now I'm actually going to buy those books.
I know.
That's very cool.
I'm going to get
it. It's great. It's what I asked for.
So that comes out in the fall. So you get some bonus news again this episode. But we do have a very important thing to talk about, specifically about signed books this episode. So if you have ever wondered about value or rarity of certain signed books, or why are there so many fake signed books, we have answers to your questions on this episode. So if you are looking for more info, sit tight, or keep walking if you're listening to us on a walk. Don't sit down.
Or
do whatever you're doing. Just keep
if
listening.
You're riding a bike.
Or pedal fast. Pedal fast. Don't miss your
sidewalk.
stop if you're on the subway. Yes. Just sit down wherever you're at for the next, I don't know how long we're going to talk about this, and
A while.
Get ready. And then, of course, we will always have a translation of the show. We have one of Carly's favorite books. That's all I'm going to say. Or if you just see the picture of this episode, you already know which one it is. It is the Asturian book, and we're going to talk about it later because it is wonderful. But first, let's start with some news about lots of new book-related things, which is exciting.
Yeah, our first bit of news, that's something that's really cool that we have to talk about, fits so well with our main segment today. And you guys can like fill in the gaps with whatever I'm missing, because I didn't get to finish the article. I was reading it as I had to run out of work, and I had started it, but I didn't get to finish it. So Adam actually sent me this article. It's in the Rowling Library, and it's about this, I guess, Eric's shrugging his shoulders. He's like, who's Adam? Well, we'll tell you who Adam is. Adam is a fellow collector, and he is like the signature expert. He is so knowledgeable in these signatures to the point where he has a website, and it's purely for like authenticating your signed books. He's like the person to go to. The other 2 people I would suggest going to are Peter and Carly, who are right here. But Adam is really like our go-to person for that. He's also just like the nicest human being on the planet. Like, I have to like throw that in there as well.
You can find him at theharrypotterspecialist.com.
Yep.
Adam is the only JK Rowling signature authentication service in the world. And the only one that I would trust.
And I absolutely trust him. Yep.
100%. We all completely back him. He's our go-to person for any sort of signature. And like I said, he's also just a phenomenal human being that if you met him, you would like get that vibe from him that like, oh my gosh, this guy's just, he knows what he's talking about. It's just so cool. So he was part of this article that had to do with, I guess I would say like an infamous forger of JK Rowling signatures. And I feel like you guys know probably a bit more about it than I do. I
wrote articles about him because me and Adam talked extensively about him because we would see all these different eBay accounts popping up with these same forgeries by the same handwriting, and we would spend hours sometimes discussing. And I wrote different articles and different things about him, trying to warn people.
Yeah, it's
drove
really hard.
Me crazy.
It's so hard, and that's why, especially like, we try to use this podcast as a platform to educate and to advocate for constant vigilance and doing your research, and especially like we've said this time and time again, but if you're going to drop a lot of money on a book that's a JK Rowling signature, which you're going to do because they're very valuable, you better be doing the research to make sure that that signature is authentic, and you better be going to a person like Adam to do that. This article goes a bit more in depth into oh my gosh, I just lost my entire train of thought. This is
into
pregnancy.
the process
this
in
is
which
pregnancy. Sorry guys.
It's more detailed about the process in which the identity and eventual confrontation of this forger kind of went down. And there's also a documentary on Dutch TV. I don't know if you guys check that out. I don't really have a good way to like tell people how to watch it, but it's in Dutch. So unless you speak Dutch, you can get the gist of it, but the better story is in the article that came out in, was it the Rowling
Library
magazine, which is a digital magazine that you can read. We can link that too.
We'll link that, and it's linked on my website now.
Yeah, and it's just we don't need to go into too much detail here. It's just really good news that like this should stop, at least from this person, because there were so many fake books that were going around. And we say this all the time. Melanie just said it. If you're going to spend a lot of money on something, make sure it's actually the real deal.
I remember what I was going to say.
More and more. Oh, yeah. What you're going to say?
No, as I cut you off, like in the middle of what you're saying.
Yeah.
No,
okay, well, let me finish what I was going to say.
Ahead. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm holding
I was
going to
finish by saying, as we get further along in the calendar, like 2024, it's getting harder and harder, or I guess more rare, to just find a signed book for a really cheap price. Like that's just not, it's not going to happen as much as it did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. People know what they have, and like if you want one and on an auction site, it's going to sell for a good amount of money, not $100, right? You're not gonna find a diamond in the rough on eBay. It's just really not going to happen these days. So it's good that we're weeding out all the fakes that are really good fakes, because there are some really bad fakes that we've seen that look like you asked a 4-year-old to draw it with the crayon. But okay, what were you going to say, Melanie?
No, what I was going to say, and this is something that is mentioned in the article, which is such a good point, and something that we also mention a lot here on this podcast, is that, if you are specifically buying a JK Rowling signature book, you go to a JK Rowling signature expert. You don't necessarily go to an auction house, or you don't go to someone that's like a book expert in general, someone that it's not like specialized in this field. And like, I feel like that's something that, like, when we see these posts on these Facebook pages, this is something we're going to be talking about all of this stuff in our main segment, but it fits here too. But we see these posts all the time in Facebook groups of like, oh, I know that my book is valuable because I have this letter of authenticity, and I have pictures and whatever that prove that it is, and also this auction house verified that it's an authentic signature. Well, is that auction house like Joe Schmo from off the street, or is it Adam, who has spent countless hours and devoted so much time into educating himself in JK Rowling signature specifically? It's like, if you have, like, I don't know, if you have cancer, are you going to go to an oncologist, or are you going to go to a pediatrician or your general physician? Like, you're going to go to the one that specializes in your specialty area to solve your problem.
When I had my nose surgery in December, I went to an ENT that specialized in nose surgery.
Right,
I
you're
didn't
not
go
going to go to a general physician.
An orthopedic.
Well, and
I didn't go to an orthopedic surgeon.
What was so frustrating with this forger is his stuff was passing and selling through all of these big auction houses, and it was passing these third-party authentication houses like the well-known ones, despite like not a bunch of people, a few people, myself being one, I'm sure I know Adam was one, and others saying, hey, these aren't real, and no one was listening. It was some of the more frustrating like collecting times as far as signatures go, because this stuff was everywhere.
Well, and oftentimes too, last thing that I'll say about this topic is that not only the signature is forged, but oftentimes the provenance that Melanie talked about, like letters and photos, that can all be forged as well, and
all of it.
That stuff is forged as well. So so even the hologram sticker, people's like, oh, it's got a hologram sticker. Well, people are forging everything. So
yeah,
don't just take that for face value. That's why we always say if it's got a certificate of authenticity from Adam, I have no further questions. But if it's got a certificate of authenticity from anybody else, and it hasn't been even like if Peter or Carly haven't said, yep, it looks legit, I don't trust that. And that's really sad because like, normally that's like all it would take, right? Oh, this is authentic, but anyone can print a certificate of authenticity. So it's not hard. It's the more of so that I trust the person. I trust Adam. I know his process. I know the time he puts into this. I know all of the resources and databases that he has. Like he's seen it all and is just so well versed in that. So that's again, like Melanie said, that's who I would trust to authenticate a JK Rowling signature, not someone that has to authenticate tons of different author signatures from lots of different books. So yeah, kudos to Adam, and
we will absolutely like touch on this like a bit more in our main segment as well, because it all like kind of ties in. But there are a few other exciting pieces of news that I want to share. One that I'm so stoked about is coming out in late 2025. They are releasing a full cast audiobook for the series, the Harry Potter series. So like if you are like a Harry Potter audiobook junkie, I know that we are in my house, like everyone Erik is too, like listening to the audiobooks back to back. This is a whole new way of experiencing that. My husband and I keep trying to think like who's going to narrate it, or like who would you want to narrate it? Are the voices going to be done by like cast members? Like, are we going to see that? Because not for nothing, we have seen that in some of the audiobooks that have come out. The Tales of Beetle the Bard had a lot of cast members in the audiobook and things along the lines of that. So like, or also like Eddie Redmayne doing Fantastic Beasts was such a cool audiobook and is so delightful to listen to. This is going to be phenomenal. And I feel like I'm like saving myself for it because like I feel like I want to like not listen to Harry Potter again until this comes out, and I'm just so excited again. I can't wait to like revisit the series like in that medium. It's going to be amazing. You guys like it too? You're all nodding along, but the podcast people can't.
I don't know what else to say. I agree. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Who would you want to narrate it? Who would you want to be like the main narrator?
Someone good.
David Attenborough.
Ooh.
Morgan Freeman.
Silly goose.
I feel like Helen Mirren would be really good.
You know what's so funny? I just started watching this like Disney Plus came out with like a special all about like the octopus and like how elusive and like amazing.
I saw that.
Yeah, but it was narrated by Paul Rudd, and he was great. I was like, could Paul Rudd? I would listen to Paul Rudd do the Harry Potter audiobooks. Like that'd be fantastic.
There was something I watched where Edward Norton was the narrator, and that was pretty good too. I was like, oh, all right,
it's amazing.
Edward Norton, way to go.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it. I think my husband and I both agreed like if it was someone from like Harry Potter realm. Like, I feel like Jason Isaacs would, like, kill it. Like, I just feel like his, like, passion for Harry Potter, like, would really shine through with it. Also, I feel like Tom Felton would probably, like...
I was about to say Tom.
He'd be so passionate. He'd be so passionate about it.
He would do great.
I just don't know if his accent is, like, neutral enough, but I would love it.
I'll say he'd be passionate about the scenes that he's in the book. His character's in.
And
he tries extra hard when Malfoy's in the scene.
What's his face? Not to like delve like too deep into this way we can like move on to the rest of our news, but I don't know if you guys have ever listened to like the Lord of the Rings was just redone an audiobook, and the guy who did the audiobook is the guy who voiced Smeagol. So like when he got up to his character, like he did like the actual like Gollum voices. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. Highly recommend. All right, other bits of news. Mike, who is a fellow collector of our, like, translation collector, friend of ours, he's a member of our Discord. He's, like, one of the fastest to, like, complete, like, collecting all of book 1. Like, I feel like he did it in, like, record speed. It was insane to witness. He's actually selling his entire collection, which is including a lot of really cool, rare books. I actually bought a book from him I couldn't say no to, and it was like the first like rare translation that I've gotten in years. So it's really exciting. What's the website for it?
Oh.
Do you guys know off the top of your head?
No.
Potter's Rare Books.
Oh,
Potter's
Mr. Potter's Rare Books, or is it Potter Rare Books?
Potter Rare Books.
Potter Rare Book. I think it's something just like that. Yeah, PotterRareBooks.com.
PotterRareBooks.com.
And honestly, the website's so easy to navigate, so easy to use, like, and there's still some, like, really great stuff on there. So if you are looking to expand upon your collection, you could check that out. Other ways you could expand your collection could be the new South Afrikaans edition, which just like announced. I don't know if it's like officially out yet. I think it is, but it has Johnny Duddle cover art. This is not a new translator. For I feel like most of our like criteria in which we collect, like we would not count this as a new translation. It might have some modifications to it. Slightly revised. Okay, so like, you know, it's like it's different. I don't know if you want to count it. So cool. But we would like to recommend like just watch where you get it from, because there are places that are selling it for like over $100, and this is a reprint of a book. It should absolutely not be purchased for more than that. Like,
no, it's a new book plus shipping.
Right. So, yeah, I think that's like all we like pretty much wanted to say. We wanted to say this book is out. So cool that it's out, especially because Afrikaans is like a tricky translation to come by. So if it's not something that you have and you want to add that translation to your collection, you're going to have the opportunity to do so for
now's the time. Like if you don't care about artwork, now's the time.
Oh my gosh. All right. Oh my gosh. This just in. I'm just like checking the news, and I'm like, this just in. This is
No, we should bring up the fact that like Thomas Taylor's artwork has resurfaced. He sold it back in I think 2003 or 2001 or something for like £87,000. Wow. And it's now being sold again at Sotheby's on June 26th, which is the release of Philosopher's Stone, which is kind of fun. So
what a coincidence.
The estimate is 400 to 600,000 pounds.
Oh my
which,
gosh.
in my opinion, I think that's low. So I'm really hoping it sells for a lot more than that, because I mean it's literally the cover artwork of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
It'll be super interesting to watch. Actually, this go on. It'll be very
so interesting. Yeah. So I'm excited.
That's
I will not
really
be
cool.
bidding, but
£1.
But one of your shell
Price is right,
one of your shell
$1.
companies will be bidding.
there we go. Yes, exactly.
What is it that they do in The Office? Dwight is like bidding on something, and he goes, "And 1 penny." So it's like $75, $75, and 1 penny. That would be me, but not at all in this situation because I don't have that kind of stuff laying around.
It'll
What
be
I do
interesting
have,
to watch.
I was gonna say I had a good segue because I said I don't have that kind of stuff laying around, like that kind of money laying around. What I do have laying around are some Harry Potter signed books, and we're gonna be talking about those in our main segment.
Well done. Hopefully they're not laying around though.
No, they're
Yeah, I know. Once again,
in no way in a pile
of books.
They're
I know. I was worried about that. There's like pile.
Nicely displayed. They're not laying around. Don't worry. My songbooks are safe.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about U.S. rare signed books because it's a great idea to talk about, actually. And I'm so glad that Peter is here to actually talk about this because I think it'll be great. So, really quick backstory. I got into signed books because of Peter. We met on eBay years ago.
So fun.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And now look. And what I mean by rare signed books is, yes, U.S. signed books, they're cool. They're quote unquote rare if you look at ratios of things versus signed, not signed. But there are some rare U.S. books that are just more coveted, more valuable, and considered more rare than the others. And that's going to be what we're going to spend our time discussing, especially because these more rare signed books from the U.S. are what we see forged a lot. So if you can kind of know what's harder to come by, you can kind of figure out, hey, maybe I should look at this a bit more and consult Adam and see what he says. Something like that. So, and really quick, I've just got to throw in, again, COAs, letters of authenticity, they can all be forged. Event tickets can be forged. Holograms can be forged. Books can be forged if we're going to go that route. So, you just have to really know what you're doing if you're going to spend any kind of money on a signed thing.
Well, and I think people are sometimes not, like, if someone says, it's my book, I was there and I got it signed. It's like,
oh, that means it's real.
I'd love to believe you.
Yeah.
It's like, and I feel like sometimes when people are like, what else can you provide? Like, if you're asking them to, like, verify that, like, show me a photo, they feel like they're overstepping.
Yeah.
And the seller be like, what do you mean you don't believe me? You have every right as a buyer to do that. And you should
do your
be
due
if you're
diligence.
spending that much money.
And it's the same people. I get a lot of people who send me questions or send me like, I got this book right when it was released. It's a first edition and it's like an 87th print of whatever. It wasn't right when it was released. It's much later than. So as much as I would like to believe people, you still have to do your research because you're spending your hard-earned money. You need to know what it is that you're buying. And I cannot stress that enough. Okay. So I guess we kind of already talked about this rare versus valuable. Just because something rare is rare doesn't mean it's valuable. And you see that in the signed world a lot. Some signatures are worth more than others, right? Right, Peter? Some signed things are worth more than others just because the signature itself is harder to come by. Less books were signed, or the author was less well known, so less books were signed. It was a smaller event, and the author was really well known. There's lots of reasons why there can be less signed books. And I apologize. My dog has decided now is the time to murder his toy. So I apologize.
I didn't even hear him. Good job, Alistair.
Well, he's rug surfing.
Silent but deadly dog.
No, he's not silent, and he's surfing across the floor on my rug as I'm talking. And he knows better. Anyway. So what was I saying about... Okay, I lost my train of thought a little bit.
You're talking about, like, books, like, certain signatures being more valuable than other signatures in different times and different
So when signed matters. So let's say you have 2 first print, first edition Sorcerer's Stone, right? Both in the same condition. They're both immaculate, right? So then you have one that was signed in 1998. Beautiful signature. And you have one that was signed in 2007. The 1998 signature is going to be the one that more collectors are going to want. There are fewer of them. It is also 1998 was the year that the book was published. So that tends to be what collectors like. The signature matches the year published. And collectors love that kind of stuff tremendously. Also, it's a beautiful signature, right? She hadn't signed a lot. There's less of them. The 2007 signature had more people there. And again, it's kind of anachronistic. There we go. So the signature does not match the time sign. If you do the 2007 with the 1998, they're years off.
Just to play off of that, like a tiny drop, like I saw that happen firsthand because my JK Rowling signed book, I got signed personally at the premiere of Cursed Child in New York City. And standing right behind me was some sort of scalper dude who was handed a book and given a bracelet to get onto the red carpet. And he was holding a first edition first print of Sorcerer's Stone. And I know because I asked to look at it. And I just thought to myself, like, cool, you're getting this book signed in whatever year it was. It was like 5 years ago, 2019. You're getting this book signed in 2019. And it doesn't match. The signature is not going to match the book, so you're not going to get as much money for it as you think you are. Now, granted, like, it's still a first edition, first printing, but the fact that the signature doesn't match, like, me thinking about it, that would irk me so much as a collector. Like, why would I want that book? I know that in my head, I'm like, you're ruining a first edition, first print with not ruining because it's JK Rowling signature. Like, you know that at least
ruining. It's worthless.
It's not. It's still
it's
gonna be
not
worth more.
forger.
But you know what I mean? Like,
It's
it was
worth
just
a lot of money still.
Like, my type A personality just has like a really, really difficult time wrapping my head around like this such a late signature with such an early book. It just like doesn't compute. So the people like us who would be interested in buying that book, like, wouldn't be interested in buying that book if any of that makes sense. You know?
No,
Yeah,
like,
I've always...
if you're... Go on, Peter.
I've always said that I would never have JK Rowling sign my first print of Philosopher's Stone, my uncorrected proofs. It never. Like, I don't want her to... Like, she can hold the books, but I don't want her pen touching those books. Like, to have a 2000 and... What are we in? 2024 signature in one of those books, in my opinion... For some, it wouldn't, but for me, it would. It would devalue the books. It's kind of like someone scribbling in the book.
I totally agree with that.
So that's why, like, I saw somebody up on eBay. They took a 1999 signature, which many of you don't know is a very common. She had 2 U.S. tours, both Azkaban and Chamber of Secrets signed. Lots of places were hit there. It's the most plentiful J.K. Rowling U.S. signature is the 1999, right? And so as far as signed books go in the U.S., there's a lot of them, right? It's if you're going to find a signed book, it's not uncommon for it to be a 1999 signed book. And you see a lot of book 1, 2, and 3. And I saw somebody take a 1999 signature, later print Sorcerer's Stone, and throw it up for $10,000 on eBay. You know, first edition signed, which they're not lying, but it's also, in the grand scheme of everything, not that valuable. I mean, I honestly don't know the value of an immaculate, like, super fine first edition, first print Sorcerer's Stone signed in 1998. I honestly don't know what that would fetch, but I don't even think that would be a $10,000 book unless somebody really wanted it to be.
I think we're close to $7,500 to $8,000 at this point.
Okay, so we're still off by about $2,000. So for 1999 signatures, I still see those selling in first print Chamber and first print Azkaban, which again, those books aren't rare. Even in first edition, first print, they're not rare at all. But I still see those selling for $1,500 to $2,000. So, I mean, that's just the least, they're just there. Those signatures are so common in the marketplace. and then
Which
seconded
that's
by.
also not to say that like $2,000 is not a lot of money. Like that's a lot of money.
No,
for
it's
a book.
not.
And it's just like we're just talking like in the grand scheme of things and like what these books could be worth. If you had a first print, first edition, 98 signature is going to cost a lot more than a 20-something printing of Sorcerer's Stone with that 99 signature, or Chamber of Secrets, Azkaban, 99 signature. Like those are the price differences.
And then the 2007 signature in the Deathly Hallows. She came here for a signing tour for that. So getting into what are the really rare U.S. signed books, it's going to be books 4, 5, and 6. She didn't have U.S. tour for those. She did come to the U.S. for like something in 2004. Was it the Oprah show? Or not at 2004. It was 2000 when
Goblet.
she did when Goblet was published, because I have a U.S. signed Goblet first print that has a funny story behind it, but they're hard to find. The Goblet, Order, and Half-Blood prints are really, really hard to find.
Yeah, she didn't do like an official
signatures.
like invite anybody to come for Goblet of Fire signature or signing. They were more private events, and it was I think all of them were invite only, so there were very few Goblet of Fires sold or signed in 2000.
Yeah, you see them so rarely, and of the three, I don't know which is more rare, the Half-Blood prints or the Order of the Phoenix. Between the three, Goblet you see around, it's still rare, don't get me wrong. But of the three, I don't know if Order or Half-Blood Prince is more rare.
I would say Half-Blood Prince.
That was kind of my inclination. I don't know what these run. I would think well over $5,000 though.
Oh, well over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're into the 7,000-8,000 range, which is nuts.
So, yeah. So when you're looking at eBay and you want like a complete set of signed Harry Potter books, it can be done for a lot of money typically. And when you see people selling, full set of Harry Potter books, US first editions, a lot of those tend to be forgeries, you guys. I cannot stress that enough. And they're usually pretty bad. Like, bad.
Can you say bad one more time?
Bad. I can't stress that enough. That's why it's just so
bad.
awful. Makes me roll my eyes, and I usually have to get off the app and like go drink a Diet Coke and calm down. Because but the problem is it's one thing if people are listing them for sale. It's another when they're selling. And I've even seen auction houses sell these complete signed books of forgeries, or complete signed sets of forgeries. And it really upsets me because I know they're getting garbage and I can't tell them. And it bothers me to no end.
Yeah, I think no, oh my God, Eric, we just keep doing that today. It's like our brains are on the same wavelength. I was just going to say it was you? I thought it was
Peter.
Yeah.
All three of us.
All three of us
at the same time.
Who wants to go first? Rock, paper, scissors?
Ladies first.
No. I mean, I was just going to say, like,
We'll
just
go east to west.
Oh, perfect. Good. Because it's the latest here. So thank you so much. That's very kind. I would just say, like, a good just summary statement to, like, round all this out is matching the signature to the printing based on, like, when, like, if you have, like, a first edition first printing, right, it should be signed for this year. If you have a first edition first printing of Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban, that should be a 99 signature. You know, like if those are the things that are going to have like the most value for those books, if that makes sense. So like those are things to like really look for. I feel like those are like key things in like what we're trying to say in all of this, like things that are like really important.
Let me just add on to that because
Yeah.
I don't think it was specifically stated, and then we can go to Peter and then come back to me. When you say the signature that matches that year, we mean that the physical signature looks different right? I think
Yeah.
we've said it, but not like outright. Like her signature has evolved and changed from the first book release to the last book release. So it looks different. So there are
Quite a
people
bit.
that, you know, are well trained, like such as Adam, right, who's just like a pro. There's even people like me who can look at a signature and be like, that's an early one, that's a later one, because I'm around these books, but I'm not a signature person. But you can tell. You look at it and you go, oh, that's an early one, that's a later one.
Well,
so what Melanie's saying is you don't want a signature from now on a book that is from then, because it just doesn't.
It's anachronistic.
like,
It doesn't
mesh right.
match.
Yeah, there's also a big difference too between like a book from a book signing early on versus a book signing that happened at a red carpet where she's trying to sign as many books as possible. Like my signed book, that signature looks so different from any other signature, like the standard signature that I've seen of hers. And I had a 99 signature, Sorcerer's Stone, which again is that lower value because that's not when Sorcerer's Stone originally was signed, if that makes sense. Still valuable, but whatever. So that signature was vastly, vastly different. Like my red carpet signature versus my 99 signature book versus what a 2019 like sat down and signed book would look like. All three of those would look vastly, vastly different. So that's what we're saying too. Like the evolution of her signature, it makes a big difference as well.
Which again is why we would recommend getting it authenticated by Adam or, you know, someone else that you trust, but we trust Adam the most, I think, because you might look at like online, like signed JK Rowling stuff, and yours might look totally different. And you're like, oh, it's fake. Well, it might not be. It might be like, right, like Melanie just said, an earlier signature or a quick on the red carpet signature. It still could be authentic, but you're not the one educated enough to make the decision there. I'm not saying you're not educated. I'm just saying you're not educated in the signature.
It's hard. Her signature's changed a lot over time. I apologize. My dog is being super naughty and loud, but her signature has changed a lot over time. And there's still things that we look for and like features that we look for in the handwriting and so on, but it's changed a lot. So it's very easy if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you can make mistakes. And there's also there's been some really good forgers and stuff.
Dying to know what Peter was going to say at the same time. So much time has passed.
So much time has passed. What was I going to say? I was going to talk about yeah. Okay, but what was I going to say? Oh my gosh, my brain is so I'm on 2 antibiotics for bronchitis and sinus infection, so like my brain is like shutting down, so I apologize if I'm not coherent. So I was going to go back to, I wanted to go back to the forger caught news. Like it's great and all, but this doesn't mean like it's over. You know, there's still probably 500 to 1,000 counterfeits circulating in the market.
eBay's still full of garbage.
Additionally, in the documentary, you know, this guy Joe, who's the forger, Joe Painter. It's in the forgery, so I guess I can say his name. It's on whatever. Right?
And it's on my website. He's on my website as well.
So he in the documentary states that, you know, he won't be listing any more fake signed books, which, you know, of course, you know, that's garbage. And then the next day he posted a book on eBay. So he's posted 2 or 3 books since the documentary was released on eBay. The good news is there's the police are doing their own investigation. So the police have the information. So hopefully something comes out of it. And the guy is arrested and put away. So all that to say, it's like, yeah, it's great news that, you know, he was uncovered and you can see his face on the documentary, but still constant vigilance is necessary.
Yeah, there are still so many other. I was on eBay the other day, and there's so many more. There's just a lot of garbage, and I say eBay because it's just a giant selling house. But I mean, you can find forgeries on any marketplace.
But since we're talking about U.S. books, he's released U.S. signed books, forged books, UK forged books, or signatures in UK and U.S. books. And then the other, we talk about how it's important to go to a JK Rowling signature expert. It's because we're looking at ink color from signing events, the printing on these tickets, these event tickets, the sheen or the shimmer of the hologram. Like, there's so much to look for. So I can't stress enough how important it is to verify through Adam what you're purchasing before you purchase it. I had purchased a book and it looked like it was black ink on eBay, and it arrived and it was green ink, and I knew that's not the correct ink color, so it was a forgery.
Wow.
So it's like all this stuff. It's very important that you need to know. And Adam is a great resource for this when it comes to purchasing signed books. So, like, it's great, but also constant vigilance.
Yeah. Well done. Well done. I apologize for my dog. He's lost his mind.
Oh, that's fine. So I think my question, then I have a question, which I think is a great way to end this segment, is if you were told that you were going to meet JK Rowling tomorrow, what would you bring to have her sign? You wouldn't bring your first. You wouldn't bring...
Honestly, if I had it would be the South African.
What would you bring?
It'd be the Afrikaans Duddle reprint, because it just came out.
I would bring a hardcover, just a hardcover later print of Philosopher's Stone. That's what I would bring. That's my dream book.
Melanie?
I mean, I had her sign my illustrated edition of Philosopher's Stone. I'd probably have her sign the deluxe illustrated, which I'm kind of bummed I didn't originally have her sign. It's just I was like camping out in the city from like 3 a.m. until this event happened, which was like past noon. So carrying that in a backpack would have been like carrying a backpack full of bricks. So that was why I opted for just the regular illustrated. So yeah, I would probably go for a deluxe illustrated. I feel like that would be nice. Insanely cool.
That was going to be my answer. And then I toyed with the German all 7 books in one volume.
Oh, that's a great idea.
The paper's really thin in that, so I don't know how that would look.
Maybe like the inside cover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe, because like again, that's like a recent one, but
so cool.
I think it would be cool to have a translation signed, but maybe like a cool translation signed, not just like Malay. You're like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, otherwise, like I would just bring...
German 25th anniversary would look like so cool with the signature.
Oh, that would be really cool too.
Book. Oh my goodness.
Or Slovak I'd want 25th anniversary.
Oh, Slovak.
And not only would it be cool, it would smell delicious.
Well, mine already has an illustration in it. So would that be cool? Or would I get a different one? I don't know.
Ooh, that would be kind of cool.
Now, I also want to bring up, we've been talking about how, it's best to have a 1999 signature in a book that was published in 1999. That's really preference. It's not a bad thing to have a signature in your collection in a later book, or have a first printing of something of Sorcerer's Stone, and it has a 2007 signature in it. There's nothing wrong about that. It's just preference when it comes to collecting. But I think the four of us agree that
value, because
our preference would be to have the signature when it was actually signed, and the version of the signature to actually match when the book was published. But yeah, like Carly was mentioning just now, value. It's definitely more valuable to own something that was signed when the book was published.
Yeah. And I'm not knocking any of the signed books. Like, if you have it signed, it's great. Just be careful not to overpay is the whole point of it. I don't like to see people overspend. Buy what you like, buy what you want, as long as it's authentic and you like it, you feel like your money's worth it, fine. But just don't spend too much, like on that $10,000 signed 1999 signature, right? It's just it's not valued at that. Maybe later, but we're not there yet. So again, know what it is that you're buying.
I did see an incredible book. Oh my goodness. It was a Goblet of Fire, a U.S. Goblet of Fire, and it had a 1997 signature in it. It was just absolutely incredible.
Oh, man.
No one is like Carly's the only one who's laughing. I think Erik and Mel are like, wait, is he joking?
I just shook my head.
I have a few of those on my forgeries page.
It's proof that time travel's possible. That's what it is.
Right?
You've
Doctor
found
Who is
proof
real.
of time
I
travel.
found proof. Time travel's possible. They brought Goblet of Fire back to when Philosopher's Stone was published.
Okay. I can't think of any other explanation other than someone had a time machine.
It was a proof. It was a Goblet of Fire proof. It had to have been. Only way that could happen.
Had to have been.
You know what else is also rare and super valuable and super cool? Our translation of the show.
Okay, so the translation of the show, or TOTS, because that's what translation of the show shortens to, is probably one of Carly's favorite books on the entire planet. And it's one that we talked about a very, very, very long time ago in like episode 2 or 3 or 4 before Melanie was here too, which is great because we didn't actually give it a rating in our scale. We just
it's never been through the
book.
TOTS.
No, it's not. And this is, of course, Asturian, which is objectively one of the rarest translations in all of our collections, which is just incredible. And just a brief background on Asturian. I don't know, Carly, do you want to talk about the language itself? Because that usually gets you fired up. And I like it when you get fired up about languages.
It's very easy. I'm such a language nerd.
I know. That's why it's so entertaining, too.
So it's one of the translations that you find in Spain. It's in the Asturias region. So like Oviedo is a big city up in there. It's like northern. And the Asturian language is an Indo-European Romance language evolved from Latin in the early Middle Ages. This language was closely linked to the Asturias kingdom in northern Spain, as well as the following Leonese kingdom, Astur Leonese, was used in official documents during the 12th, 13th, and part of the 14th centuries. Castilian Spanish arrived during the 14th century to that area. There are 3 main dialects of Asturian: Western, Eastern, and Central, and they are mutually intelligible. You don't always find that, especially with the smaller, lesser known or lesser spoken languages. The oldest preserved document was issued by Alfonso III to the town of Aviles in 1155 AD. So it's got quite a long history here, like comparatively. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and if you want to hear what this language sounds like, I don't think we plug this enough, but if you go to Carly's website, alltheprettybooks.net, she has what's called the Book That Lives project, and if this is the first time you're hearing about it, Carly has assembled, alongside Harrison, one of our good friends, readers of all of these languages and has compiled the different audio clips of the first paragraph of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in all these different languages, which is just incredible. So not only can you hear Asturian, but you could hear Occitan or German or
Melanie
Icelandic.
reading it in a
Greenlandic.
long accent.
Yeah,
Gujarati.
Peter reading it.
Yeah.
And
Gujarati.
Greenlandic.
Oh, it's just so cool.
One of my post office ladies did that.
Yeah, that was a neat.
My teacher friends
neat.
did the Belarusian one.
That's
It's
fun.
just great.
It is fun.
It's awesome.
So cool.
It's super fun. But speaking of super cool, let's talk about the details of this book. So, only the first book was translated into Asturian, and it was translated by Trabe, or Trabe, if you're going to just do it in American English. But this book I don't think it ever gets enough discussion when we talk about rare Harry Potter books. And that, again, goes for, like, it's the demand versus the actual rarity. Carly says it all the time. Just because something's rare doesn't mean something's valuable. In this case, it is rare and it is valuable, but it still blows my mind that this book is so rare, yet the value doesn't seem to correlate with that. Which
at least not yet. I feel like it's actually the market is slowly correcting itself.
Right. Well, I don't know, Peter. You were talking earlier about how even through your collecting, it went up in a matter of years.
Oh well, I mean,
the value.
So I sold Mel and Carly. At one point, I had 4 copies in my house, and took a picture, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And this was back in 2017, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And I sold each of them copies for, can I share what you paid for them?
Yeah.
$450 each. And now this book is in the probably $6,000 to $7,000 range. So in those few years, it has jumped up that much, which is mind-boggling. Well, all of Harry Potter books have jumped up that much in a few years, which is also mind-boggling. I mean, look at Philosopher's Stone. You used to be able to purchase a hardcover Philosopher's Stone. We'll just call it fine, in fine condition for, $10,000, $15,000. The most recent sale at Heritage Auctions was $450,000. I mean, now that was an insane amount. I don't believe it's worth that much personally. I don't know why it sold for that much, because you see them selling at Sotheby's and Bonhams for $100,000 to $150,000. But even $100,000 and $150,000 in that short amount of time, it's just insanity. But yeah, so what were we talking about with this
Asturian.
book?
Just the rarity of this book versus the value.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I get off on tangents and then I forget where I am.
Well, you can keep tangenting. Talk about how many of these there are.
So there's actually some that's possible. All right, so we thought that there were 700 of these published, and I got that information from the translator himself, who is the person that I purchased my copy from. But since then, that might be lower. It might actually be less than 700. I know I haven't actually told you guys this. It's possibly,
no, this is old news.
Yeah, it's possibly in the 500 range.
Wow.
So it's pretty much like the hardcover Philosopher's Stone then, as far as amount of copies.
That 500 number was thrown out by someone else at Trabe, so it's possible that there were 500 printed. Yeah, so between 500 and 700 copies printed.
So if you have this book, you should get it insured.
Oh yeah, it's a, like I said, it's a $6,000-$7,000 book right now.
If not,
and the crazy thing that the four of us were talking about before we started recording is, like, we personally know of maybe at least 10 other people or 8 other people that have this book too. So, and none of us are in Spain, so. We know where some of these books are, but we also don't know where some of them are. But it's cool that, it's like, oh, we all have this one.
A notable percentage of these books that exist, we know where they are, which is really cool.
We know where they are. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
So we should mention this book. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it's the reason we don't see so many of them is because it's not the first printing of Philosopher's Stone, which is well known. Everyone is checking their bookshelf for the first printing of Philosopher's Stone. So there may have been 500 of the first printing of Philosopher's Stone printed, as well as 500 of the Asturian books. So you may be thinking, we've seen, 30, 40, 50 first printings of Philosopher's Stone sold. Why aren't we seeing that many of these sold at auction? It's because it's not as popular as a book. So what that means is they're out there. So if you're starting to collect, they're still out there, and not for $6,000. So you may get lucky and find one on someone's bookshelf and get a great price for it. So just keep searching.
It has the same title as the Spanish edition, which is literally everywhere.
So literally buy every single edition of Spanish.
Do what
that's
Erik
sold
did and
without
buy
a
all
photo,
of the Spanish at some point.
and
No.
maybe
Yeah,
one
buy
will
all
show
the.
up.
What I did, even though I got mine from Peter, what I did is I learned the ISBN, because a lot of these bigger booksellers like Thrift, they'll list by ISBN, where they'll buy these giant like gaylords of books and things, and they'll just run the ISBN. They'll take a little like laser and they'll just run it across the ISBN and list it, and then they'll use the stock photo, or sometimes they just use a photo, not always the same one that matches the ISBN, which has gotten me in the past. So that's just something to be aware of, is the ISBN, especially with these bigger sellers, bigger booksellers, matters. So always check it, know what ISBN belongs to the Asturian, because there's only one, and the book itself has the same title as the Spanish. So that is something, like, I figure at some point somebody has bought a mislisted Spanish and got an Asturian and not known the difference.
It's funny because you type in the ISBN into Google and like the first things that come up are like Peter's website, Sean's website, Carly's website, like all of the references to that. And then like people on Reddit looking for this book. Mm-hmm. Another thing of Sean's website. It's just, it's funny. Everyone's looking for this book, you know?
I feel like if you went door to door in Spain, and you would find a couple in a couple weeks, you would find a couple copies.
Yeah.
We've all dreamed of doing that.
Yeah, just
door to door,
knocking on doors.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and like the Malayalam T-shirt, and just walk around Kerala. And you're like, looking for it. You got money? I got money. You got books? I got it.
I need this book.
I thought about it a few times
attacked.
with this one specifically.
Yes. All right. Let's finish up more details. That was crazy. Let's finish up some more details quickly, and then let's get to smelling this. So the translator, which is great because it's printed right on the front. We love when the translator gets some love on the cover of the book. The translator is Jesus Gonzalez Rato, and this book was published in 2009, which pretty, like, it's still recent, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
for a translation, which, especially one that just like they did book one and that was it, right? They're like, just we'll keep it at book one. Rarity out of 5, I think it goes without saying that it is a 6 out of 5.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is by numbers the rarest as far as we are all aware of. It is the rarest of all the translations of book one. Value, it's hard to track because you don't see them sold in open auctions or in open sales. A lot of the sales of this book have been private deals behind closed doors. There have been trades. Like someone in our Discord just traded for one. David got one. He was jazzed. It's really like, it's hard to establish a value for this book, especially when we just talked about the rarity should warrant a higher value than it has been selling for. But ever since I have been collecting these books, I've only seen the value go up, especially in the private sales, because usually the 4 of us are, aware of those private sales. They usually, go on with our knowledge that it's happening. So I don't know. Do you even want to put a number on it?
I mean, I would put an easy $6,000 to $7,000 for this book.
I think that's fair.
What's
But
what's
it's
the
hard
conversion
to.
of?
It would be
of
hard to.
3,500 pounds. Let me check, because I know of a sale. I think it was 2 years ago. That went for 3,500 pounds. I believe it was.
Be around.
So it's like
4,000,
about
4,000.
4.5 or so.
And this is one of those that'll sell for what the market will bear, because there's not enough sold to really establish an exact market or value for it. So it's what the market will bear, but the market is bearing a lot, for rare Harry Potter books. Even, translations used to be a lower cost to entry as far as collecting them, and now they're getting higher.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is a weird item because it's rare, it's valuable, but you may not have someone looking for it, right? it's Peter just said the book that sold for a couple £100,000. Everyone's looking for that book, that first print, first edition Philosopher's Stone Bloomsbury book. Not everybody is looking for Asturian translation of book one. It's just not one that you hear people talking about. But we love it because we love collecting translations. So I think we already mentioned how we got ours, right? You guys bought yours from Peter. Peter bought his from the publisher. I bought mine from Amazon Spain for like €12. It was amazing. It was the best deal of my collecting journey by far.
Well done.
And you get lucky, honestly. And I've seen these pop up on like Toda Colección randomly for a very low price, like €20, because someone doesn't know, that it's
what
rare
it is,
and
right?
What it is, and it just sometimes they just pop up somewhere. So keep looking if you're looking for it. They're out there, and you can probably find one eventually. It's not going to happen immediately unless you're Mike, and then you find everything immediately because he's like a wizard somehow.
Or
like
you have 10 grand and buy the one on eBay right now.
That's true, right? If money's no object. This is like the rare case where that one's been sitting there. If you have all the money in the world, you can get this book right now.
Because it is a see it, buy it
there
book
are still
at the
some
end of the
translations.
day. Yeah.
It is, exactly. You never know when you're going to see the next one available. We always say that. Like, you never know, especially condition-wise. You're like, I don't know. I really want one in better condition. It's like, well, it might never happen. So, do you want one or not?
There may not even be
Anyway,
one in better condition. We don't know.
Right. You may have the best condition one right now. Anyway, let's go through the translation of the show or TOTS scale. We start off with the smell. Let's very carefully open up this book and smell.
I'm not even going to open up mine. I'm just going to smell the ends of the pages.
You can, if you push down on here where the creases are, you can do it so it doesn't bend. I like it a lot. I don't know about you guys. I'm going to give it an E for exceeds expectations.
I like it too.
I don't think I have either.
I really like it.
No, I really like
give it an
mine.
E. I would definitely give it an E.
It's like kind of a sweet, clean
Yeah, it's sweet.
smell.
Yeah.
I was going to say chemically,
exactly that.
but like a cleaning.
Yeah, like a
Like
good
clean,
sweet.
fresh,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
fresh,
yeah.
clean smell.
I love that.
Y'all are making
Like
me.
this could be
I
an
can't.
air freshener in your car.
Yeah,
There
Asturian
it
is,
air
yeah.
freshener. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'll just hang it from my dashboard.
Oh my gosh. So
No.
I'm
That'd be the
I'm
worst.
ratting you out, Mel. So before we started,
stop.
we were talking about, getting our Asturian books ready for the show and everything. And Mel says like, oh yeah, I found my Asturian in a pile of books. And like my
it wasn't
face
exactly
dropped.
like that.
It was just like that. It was just like that. But
Making me look
she
so
clarified. It wasn't like just in a pile of books. Thankfully, it was like stacked on top of a pile on a shelf, not standing up.
Correct.
So,
because
but when you said it, it
I
sounded
know,
like
I
it was just on the
know.
floor in a pile of books, and I was like,
no,
"Are you
oh my
kidding
God,
me?"
no. And the thing
My
was,
heart
is
dropped.
like my brain right now, like I can't figure things out that are like plain in front of my face. So like I had my husband come in and I was like, I can't find this book. I need it for the translation of the show, besides the fact that it's probably my most valuable book in my collection. Like, it's got a red spine and help me. And he's like, it's right there. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. I must have taken it like out of its specific spot for something for the podcast. Like we must have been talking about it for something else. And it just made its way onto my other podcast books and not back into like its home base. But now it's going to go home where she lives.
All is well.
Everything's going to be fine and all is well. No more piles. There you go.
I
it's
imagined it
actually,
like
like-
open up, like on the bottom of a pile of books.
Like
and,
used as a coaster with like a mug of coffee on top.
Coffee ring.
yeah, spill of coffee on the ground.
I think we should mention though, like this book is rare. Therefore, we don't just have it in a pile at all of our houses. I think all of us take a little extra care with some of these
Yes.
books. All of my rare books are still on my shelves. I just put them in like a comic book bag and
So
make sure that
smart,
they're not
yeah.
squeezed too tight. And it's I don't worry about someone coming down and touching them down here. People don't play. It's on the highest shelf. It starts with an A. It's pretty safe where it is. But yeah, I don't just stick it amongst the the common folk of translations. It gets its special bag.
Mine's in
I'm
a
glad you
display
mentioned-
case that's locked.
Yeah, mine's under glass too.
Ooh.
I'm glad that you mentioned comic book bags. I don't know if you mentioned that before, but that's comic book bags, acid-free comic book bags. The gold and silver size, I think, are great for storing rare Harry Potter books. So if you didn't know that and you collect rare Harry Potter books, pick up some comic book bags, and you can store your
Or
books
any
in those.
books, really.
Yeah, or any books. Yeah. So it's
Yep. Only Harry Potter books
only
can
Harry
go
Potter
in the
books
comic book.
and comic books only. Those are the only things that can go in
And comic
book
books. That's it.
bags.
That's the rules.
Yeah. But yeah, no,
where
those
do you
are
like
those
to
are
get your
great.
comic book bags?
The what?
Where do you like to get your bags?
There's
Where
actually
do
a
you get
comic
your
book
bags
store like 10 minutes from my house, so I get them there. But you can
Fantastic.
get them on Amazon. Gold and silver, those are the best sizes.
I've gotten mine on Amazon.
Perfect.
It's fancy.
Sorry.
Well,
we
so
derailed a
speaking
little bit,
of-
sorry.
We do, but
No,
you
it's
know
a
what,
great-
Peter?
it's-
Speaking of sizes for bags,
Oh.
if you were going to get a size
Yes.
for this book, you would have to take into account the size and proportions of the Asturian book. And before we give it a score, I do want to say, for those of you that are only listening, I mean, you can see the picture in whatever app you're listening to, because we'll try to upload those as the picture for each episode. But this book is really tall and thin. So when we talk about size and proportions, it's not a big book at all. You can't really tell by the picture unless you have a hand involved, but it's very skinny and it's very thin. It was one of the weirder shaped books on my shelf when I got it. It doesn't mean it's bad. I like the size and proportions. Carly's probably going to be mad at me. I'm going to give it an A for acceptable because it's really not wide. It's very tall, and I wish it was just a little bit wider. It reads more like a pamphlet almost, like a guide, like if you bought a guide to like Disney World 2007. Like I imagine it would be like the size of this book. I don't know. What do you guys think about it?
I love this. Mine's an outstanding, but so,
Of course it is.
But it's because I have a favorite set of travel guides published by DK, and it is the same. And I bought those books simply because I love how the cover feels, which actually feels like this cover, and it is the same size and proportions as this book. And I fell in love with those travel guides. I only bought them because of the size and proportions of them. And then this translation came along, and it's just like it, or just like those. So of course I'm gonna love it. I bought travel guides for this.
It's about 3/4 of an inch taller than the Bloomsbury edition hardcover. FYI, in case you wanted to know that information.
Oh, interesting.
And it's not as wide, right?
It's not as wide. It's like probably half an inch smaller.
A decent
in width.
amount.
Yeah.
If it was a basketball player, it would be the center.
I'd give it an outstanding because I always love when a book is like weirdly different, and I think that this book is exactly that. Like with how tall it is and how narrow it is weird, and I dig it.
Yeah, Eric, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to side with the ladies on this one. I also say outstanding. I like the tall, thin look of it.
Doesn't mean I don't like it. I just, if it wasn't Asturian, if this was like another book, I'd be like, this is really thin. That's just what my thought would be. Like, I don't mind that it's tall. I just wish it was a little bit wider so that when you open it, I've never really opened this book, but there's not a lot of space. Like, you'd really have to crank it open to read it. So that's the only reason I would give it an A. I think it just needs to be a little bit wider. So how it feels in your hands, I think it feels really good. It's a good weight for the size and proportion that it is. I really do like the feel of the cover. So honestly, for how it feels in your hands, for being a paperback book with a little bit firmer cover, I would give it an exceeds expectations, maybe outstanding, but I'm going to stick with exceeds expectations. That's why.
I mean, how it feels in your hand, I would give it probably an exceeds. No, I'd give it an outstanding. I think because of the size and proportions, it's it fits in one hand, like so cool. I don't know. I love how it feels in my hand.
I know,
Outstanding.
it's outstanding from me.
Take that.
I would say exceeds expectations. Like there's nothing special about the coating on the cover or anything that makes it feel extra nice in my hands. But I do like the feel of the size and proportions. If it didn't have that, it would probably be unacceptable for me. But because the size and proportion feels nice in the hand, I would give it exceeds expectations.
Yep. Okay. Overall quality of the book. It's really hard to judge because my book is in really good condition. The corners are a little bit, they're not dented, but like they're kind of scuffed just where the book would sit on a shelf. And I think that's because the cover and the pages are like absolutely flush at the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
So there's really no give for the cover, which does make, any corner area start to peel a little bit, and just because it's sitting on a shelf if it's a book. Like, even if you're storing it in a warehouse, it's still going to be touching something.
Even if you're storing it in...
storing it in
sorry.
Wow.
So I don't know. For quality, it does seem like it's bound decently, but it's glued, not sewn. I would just give it an acceptable for quality. Again, this copy that I have has never been read, and I don't intend to read it, so I can't tell you what it would look like after someone has read it. But I would anticipate, based on how it looks, that the spine would crack and you would get a big crack down.
That's going to be what I was going to say. Like, it would definitely crease if you were going to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely an A for me as well. I agree with what you said.
Same.
I completely agree. I feel like we all baby the you-know-what out of this book, and because of that, like, that's why our books look as good as they do. But if we were actually, like, reading this book, I don't know how it would hold up.
I don't know that I've ever even seen one look red. Every single one I've seen looks like ours. So I don't know, but it doesn't feel like it. And it feels like, because it is so hard to hold open, like it's not one that flops open to the page. Like, you would have to crease the spine to read it. It's just how it's made.
Yeah. Well, and when you just held yours up now, like, you have the exact same, like, white corners.
Mm-hmm. I think we all probably
on the top of your book, not even the bottom. This is the top,
the
where
top.
nothing even touches it there. Right. So yeah, just an A. But the cover art / interpretation of the cover art, I think is
outstanding.
I think it's outstanding. And not just because it's unique. We should mention the illustrator. The illustrator is Samuel Castro Gonzalez, and it's so cool. And Carly says this all the time, so I can let her expand more, but it takes the elements from the original Spanish translation. So there's Harry on the broom over the lake. You can see Hogwarts in the background with the train. It's familiar objects, kind of in a familiar place, but it just looks so uniquely Asturian. Like, it's the only book
what it
that has
is when
this
you
cover.
see it. Yeah.
You know what it is, but it's just different, and I really like that. They could have easily just reused the cover for the Spanish books, like Galician did, or Basque did, or even Catalan reused a different cover. So, but they got their own art. It's unique to this language, and we love that. But not only is it unique, but I think the art quality is outstanding. So,
They
A
did.
little fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but Samuel, who's the illustrator, is actually one of the owners of Trabe.
I did know that. You told me.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that fact to come up. I love that. So cool.
No, it's a very fun fact.
Very fun.
I love the primary colors on this book. I love art that's done this way anyway. It's one of my favorite things about it. And they did. I love how they looked at the Spanish book art and they made it better. The Spanish book art to me is very, like, somber and feels very sad. But this one just feels very whimsical and fun. And I'm not quite sure how they were able to pull it off, other than they used really fun Harry Potter font and the lettering is really fun. It could be just the colors. It could be that it looks more cartoonish. I'm not sure, but I much prefer this cover art to the Spanish.
The only thing that lets me down a little bit is I wish he was trying a little harder to catch the snitch. It's right there in front of him. And he's just got this like little smile like, huh. Like, yeah, man, just reach your left hand out and grab it. Like, you could win right now. Just grab it. Just grab the snitch.
He doesn't care.
I do want to mention the back cover of this book that has the outline of Fluffy. And it's great because it's not really a spoiler because you don't really know what it is. But it's once you read the book, you're like, oh, I know what that is. I like that.
Yeah. I feel like, we all said... I was going to say, I feel like you don't see Fluffy, like, featured too much. So that's, like, kind of cool.
No. Fluffy's also on the cover, though, right by the castle.
I love that so much.
So X Factor. I will let someone else start with this one. X Factor is what we give the book. Anything about one of these books that is particularly amazing, that sets it apart from others, that may not fit into another category, or may fit into another category. Anything we choose.
I mean, it's hard because, like, the obvious X factor is the fact that it's probably the rarest translation. But, I mean, for me, the X factor is the cover artwork. Specifically, the blue and red contrast. The blue of the sky and the water and Harry's robes. That's the X factor for me.
When I saw this book, I had to have it because of the cover. My X factor, honestly, is the Harry Potter font, like the font that Harry Potter is written in. It's the only book that has that font, and it's delightful. And there's also so many other things, but that's the one I'm going with.
My X factor, I would say, is I'm gonna go with the spine. I feel like the spine, I stole Eric's. Sorry, bud.
That was going to be mine. Okay, we can talk about it together. What were you going to say?
Well, I love the way that the font is depicted on the spine. Like, seeing the gold against the red versus the gold against the blue, I just think is really nicely done. And also, I'm pretty sure, like, this swirly font that the rest of the title is written in is, like, if you get, like, a Harry Potter bundle free font download from online, like, that's one of the fonts that you could get, like, for sure. Like, I have that font on my computer. But I just love that it's very, like, easy to find this book on your shelves. Like, when I was looking for this book before, I told my husband, like, look for, like, a skinny red spine. It just stands out so much on your shelves. So yeah, those, and like the cute little unicorn on top.
I know.
Precious.
I was gonna say the unicorn, but also, like, it's got the number 1 on the spine with the circle. Like, yeah, this is book 1. Where's book 2? We didn't do book 2. Like,
but it's
even
one.
Like the U.S. book 1.
Maybe one
even the
day.
U.S. book 1 originally didn't have the number 1 on the spine, right? They added it later once more books came out and is successful. But that just shows me that, like, there was a confidence level initially in that meeting room where they're like, we got to put the 1 on the spine because it's Harry Potter. And then no more happened after the
just in
very
case there was
low
confusion.
run of this book.
So trade is still
in
business, which gives me hope. And I'm going to reach back out to Samuel because I spoke to him last in 2017 where he said next year they were planning to come out with books 2 and 3. And then they would probably re-release Philosopher's Stone, which worries me a little bit as an investment collector because then the value of these books will instantly drop. So I'm going to reach out and see if I get a response.
Why?
And see, it's be like, hey,
that's like being that kid
we would like the
in
other 6 books.
That's like being that kid in class, like when you're in middle school and like I didn't do my homework, but like that one kid did and raises their hand and is like, Miss Coppola, you forgot to check the homework. And I'm sitting there like about to cry and like pee my pants because I didn't do my homework.
You guys don't want the other 6 books?
Like, I do, but I don't want them to get bright ideas. Why are you doing that?
it's the fear of like
No!
like, yes, I'd love the other books. That would be so cool. But like the fear that then they'd reprint book 1 and the value of this book would go
There's
down.
Gonna be like,
and that
there's
makes
going to be
me
a
scared.
rush for like, we're going to see all of these Asturian books pop up on eBay now. Like for
Yeah.
fear
No,
that,
What's going to happen is if they come out with a new one, we'll find out how many are in the print run. So let's say there's like 1,000. I'm just going to buy all 1,000 of them so that they're still
There you
rare.
go.
No one
There you
else
go.
has them but me.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's.
I'll keep the.
I guess that's true. Okay, guys, I'll be selfish and not, try to get the other books printed.
I appreciate that. Don't do that. Like,
Okay.
as much as I would love to see the rest of the series with art that matches, I really, really would. I don't want to see this book get diminished if he reprints it every time it's released or reprints it at all. No.
Well, okay, just be prepared though. That could happen literally at any time, even without me.
Peter, I know.
That
I've
can
already
happen
talked
with
about it.
any of these. Any of
A-
these
any
books.
of the
books that
Manjul
is-
could all of a sudden go on a Gujarati rampage.
I mean,
But-
look what
but-
happened
Like,
to
oh, we're
Fairies.
releasing 10,000.
Well, but even if they went on a Gujarati rampage, they'd probably get a new translator and tell no one. And then we're all mad.
Yeah, who knows? And they were all mad.
Okay,
Oh,
so
well.
maybe I'll hold off then.
Thank you. That's all I want.
Hold on for one more day. All right. Well, speaking
what
of
if I
something
hold
that,
on? Wait.
that
Sorry.
we're-
I've got one more.
Oh,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing. What if
Answer's
I can
probably
convince
no.
him?
One more thing.
What if I can convince him that the translation is wrong and they have to retranslate it? Then technically,
Great idea.
it's a
Or
different
when
translation.
they reissue,
Well-
or if they reissue it with different cover art, even.
Yeah.
Like
That would be
cool.
fine too. Well, yeah.
Like, if they
but
went the
yeah,
Duddle
yeah.
route.
Wouldn't
If
it be
they-
so? Wouldn't
Ooh,
it be
what
so
if they
cool
did
if
the
there was
Duddle-
like cohesive artwork between? Like, you're gonna translate the rest of the series. So cool! Wouldn't it be great if like all 7 had cohesive artwork, like new, spicy, fun
New-
artwork?
Yeah, sorry, Samuel. Your
showing-
artwork is just not up to par. Like,
No,
we
it's
hate
so
it. Everyone's
good
giving
that
it
it's
He just has to do
outstanding.
new ones.
It's so good
even
that
you-
it
He
needs
just
to
has to do
stand
new
alone.
art.
Even use Samuel, he could do an homage to the Duddle art. Purple instead of blue, if you will.
Wow, I didn't realize that I was going to get attacked for.
You should have known
I'm all
better.
for it.
No, it's true. You gotta,
I'm all for
yeah,
it.
we gotta,
More
gotta-
people need this book.
You got to
you
protect
gotta,
the investment,
protect
and I
your
know
investment. Yeah.
I know I sound selfish, but I'm an investor before I'm a collector. At the end of the day,
Hey, I'm on the same page.
then you know better.
And I just want,
okay. All right,
I just
fine,
want all
fine.
those little kids, all those little kids that can't read this book, Carly,
They
that
have
really want
Spanish,
the
they have
Asturian
Catalan,
version.
they have Valencian, they've got French, English. I could continue, but no.
Oh, that's true. But you know what we can't continue with? We cannot continue with this episode because that is all the time we have for episode
Good segue,
19
yeah.
of Dialogue Alley. So, if you want to get in touch with us, you can find us. Carly's on Instagram at All the Pretty Books. I'm at Nocturne Erik. Melanie's at the Harry Potter Collection. And Peter is, of course, at The Potter Collector. You can find this podcast on Instagram at Dialogue Alley Podcast. We also have lots of websites to check out. Our website is dialoguealley.com. It's a work in progress. I actually did a lot of stuff on it in the past week.
And it looks great.
Melanie has been too. And
We're still
and
working.
It does. Thank you. We're still working, but it's getting better. I like the way it's going. So again, if you have any feedback on things you'd like to see on our website that maybe you can't find elsewhere, like resources for something, or I don't know, a flow chart to explain something better, let us know. We're open to all ideas. So send
And
us
we
a
like
message.
charts.
Either we do like charts. We love flow charts and graphics. Oh, it's just great. So you can send us an email at dialoguealleypodcast@gmail.com. You can leave us a comment right on our website. You can send us a DM on our Instagram page. Lots of ways to get in touch with us. You can also check out Carly's website at alltheprettybooks.net for more resources. And, of course, Peter's website, thepottercollector.com, is your one-stop shop for all things Potter Collector, whether it be sales, videos, I don't know,
Dialogue Alley Podcast.
epic stunts. Dialogue Alley Podcast?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
we're
guys
on
are
there
on there,
now.
yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exciting. I like it. It looks great. We do have a, well, I should say, we do have a Patreon page. So if you like the show, you're already supporting us by listening to it. That's fantastic. You don't have to do anything else. But if you want to go a little above and beyond or just really show your support, we do have a Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/dialoguealley, and for a very small monthly contribution, I believe our lowest tier is $3 a month, which is cheaper than a coffee or cheaper than a Big Mac at McDonald's. That's an inside joke for everyone that likes McDonald's, but not really because it's not funny. It's just a reference to the fact that a lot of us like McDonald's. You can support us on Patreon. You get such perks as ad-free episodes. You get bonus episodes, which we can release at any time. It's kind of random. Maybe we should get a schedule for that. But I kind of like the randomness of it. We also have a wonderful Discord, which is like a chat room forum that you get access to by supporting us on Patreon. And that is a great, great, great place to talk Harry Potter book collecting, whatever your collection may be, whether it's translations, whether it's signed things, whether it is only books with Umbridge on the cover. That is one of our newest members, only collects translations with Professor Umbridge on the cover of the books. That's amazing. What an amazing collection criteria. I love it so much. We have so many people in there ready to help you start your collection or grow your collection if you already have one going, or just talk about Harry Potter books in general. It's just a fantastic community. Last thing, if you really like what you hear, that'd be great if you left us a review on whatever platform you're listening to us on. We're on all the platforms, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, iHeart, YouTube now. If you want to go to YouTube, it's just a static picture. But if you really want to stare at the picture of the translation of the show for a good hour, you can watch the video on YouTube and just stare at it the whole time. Or you can, go for a walk and listen to it on your phone.
While you stare at it.
That's usually what I do.
Yeah.
While you stare at it, yes. Well, that's why we asked you to sit down at the beginning of the episode. Sit down wherever you are.
Yeah.
So you can keep staring at the photo. All right. Okay, with all of that being said, thank you so much for listening to our show, and we will catch you next time. It's time to walk back through the archway and into our daily lives. See you later from me, Erik, Carly, Peter, Melanie. Bye.
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 See ya.